I guess start off like what's been happening since we last saw you. I mean, we saw you in Ibiza, but I mean, since you were kind of the tool room boy as such,
I was T-boy stroke engineer. Yeah, I mean, like, well, to be honest, you know, obviously I've still got an amazing relationship with tool room. In fact, I sent off a master just today for the next record that I'm doing with them. But I really, like, I felt like I needed to kind of find my own feet and figure out exactly what I wanted to do, because, you know, I was getting so into lots of different genres and stuff, and you know, I doing that one same thing, it just wasn't firing me up. So, you know, once I'd switched to Ableton and I'd started to really kind of go at doing, you know, these kind of like cross genre sets and mixing things up and stuff, I kind of found out that sort of America was really the place for doing that. You know, like dance music here has taken off in such a big way, and not just house, you know, like dubstep has really taken off. There's some other styles that have really come through over here that are not so big in the UK and stuff. Things like Moombahton and trap and stuff like that have really, you know, they've come into their own here as well, and it's exciting. You know, it's a place where you can really try things out. So I got the place over here 2 years ago, made the decision to move here April, May last year, and then, like, obviously I've just been concentrating on sort of figuring out what my sound is and what it is that I want to do, and I've kind of put myself in a really nice place now. You know, I've got a good reputation for the shows, and I'm enjoying making music and stuff. So yeah, I mean, it's been great.
And you, I mean, since then as well, you were working. You've done the example stuff and worked.
Yeah, I mean,
sort of
like
background Funkagenda as well.
Yeah. I mean, like, because I've always been into like many different styles, and I don't just want to do one thing. So when I got approached about the example album, it's kind of funny. I prepared like a bunch of stuff that I thought was what he was going to want. And I played them to him, and he was like, "No, I don't like it. No, I don't like it. No, I don't like it." And he's like, "Have you got anything else?" And I was like, "I don't know. I mean, we've got some stuff that's a bit more edgy, like this." And I played him this kind of like almost justicey kind of thing that I was kind of like working on the train on the way up there. And he was like, "Brilliant, we'll go with that." And so, like, we just kind of sat down and worked through this thing, and I added like a little reggae part into it and stuff. And that turned out to be See the Sea, which was the one that we did off his second album. And so he immediately came back to me when he started writing the third album and said, "You know, do you want to do something else?" And I was like, "Well, yeah, I mean, that'd be amazing." And we came out with Skies Don't Lie. And I mean, he told me, actually, like, I think one of the best things I heard after I produced that record was that he played it to one of the guys from Chase and Status, and they were like, "That's really good." And at the time I was on like a massive Chase and Status tip, so I was kind of like, "Wow, fucking hell, that's amazing." You know, like, I was really into that. So yeah, I mean, you know, I just try and keep myself occupied, because I get bored very, very quickly.
So has anything like that happened since you've been in the States? Because I mean, there's a lot of that going on in the States as well, isn't there?
Yeah, well, I mean, I worked on some stuff for Example's last album, but it just we couldn't actually get any studio time together to finish it off. So we've put that on the back burner, possibly either for his next album or for something that I'm working on. And I've done a few writing camps and stuff. Excuse me. Done a few writing camps and stuff while I'm out here, but I mean, the great thing about being out here is there's so many people to work with. It's actually almost like daunting at times. It's kind of like, you know, if I were to turn around now and think, "Oh, I want to write some pop music next week," I could be in like 4 or 5 writing camps like that, and it's just crazy that kind of thing.
So explain to our maybe our English readers what a writing camp is.
Okay, cool. So, like, obviously when you hear like records that are by, you know, let's say famous R&B artist, he doesn't sit there and play his music, you know. His management will go through demos of things that are people that, you know, tracks that have been written by producers that they think are like hot at the time or whatever. So a lot of the time people like myself will get invited to go to these writing camps where it will be, you know, 4 or 5 producers in one big studio complex, and people will come in and they'll say, oh yeah, that sounds really good, work on that for a little bit, or no, they don't want something like that, they want something that's a little bit more like this. And you kind of just sit there and thrash out maybe like 5 or 6 demos that the management will then take away and possibly turn into an album track.
So how does that work? Do you get paid a day rate and then you sign everything over, or if you're lucky enough to get picked, then you get...
Yeah, the writing camps, obviously you normally don't get paid for those, and if you get picked, you're a co-writer on the record, and I mean, when myself and Mark did that with David Guetta and the Black Eyed Peas, it resulted in a platinum album and a Grammy nomination. So there's so much that can come from that, and also it's a brilliantly creative thing to do, because you get to step out of your comfort zone, and I think the best music that you write is when you're outside your comfort zone.
And I suppose you always come back with a load of ideas for possibly your own stuff.
Exactly. You might work on something that's completely inappropriate for them, but will be perfect for your next single.
And so, what does this year hold for you? I mean, you're still kind of filling up the studio and... Yeah,
gradually smuggling my own stuff over so I don't have to pay for it again. Import tax. But no, to be honest, this year is for me one of the most exciting years that I've ever sort of embarked on. I've really found my feet last year with what I wanted to do musically. So I'm starting this year off with... I've got a track forthcoming on the tour in Miami Comp, which is called Black Lights. I've just completed a remix, which I guess I don't know when this is going to come out, so it could be that I've just released a remix, but right at this moment I've just finished it. But I've just done a remix for Zed on his single Clarity, and the remix package is stellar. I can't say. But if it has already come out, you already know anyway, so I don't need to. But the remix package is stellar. There's so many people on there, and I'm really blessed to feel like I've actually ended up on there. And I've got a few other projects that I'm working on. I was working on an album, but I keep shelving it because I'm not happy with the direction that it's going in, or I'm not happy with the collaborators and stuff that I've gone. Eventually it will come out, and the demos that I've got for it are really, really good. It's just a case of finding the right people to sing them and stuff.
So would you say your sound's got a little bit tougher since you've been in LA? I know you were doing tutorials for us, but there was... I think it used to be a lot deeper and progressive.
I think it's more diverse.
Okay.
Because before I was very when I was more associated with the Tool Room moniker, that's a very house-based kind of thing. They put out deep house and they put out progressive house and they put out sort of tech house, but it's all very housey and stuff. And I really wanted to kind of branch out. I get excited, as you can probably tell from the video. I get excited by sounds, and I get excited by the method behind sounds. So when I hear, when I heard dubstep for the first time, it wasn't like, oh my god, what is this? It sounds like Transformers fucking, or anything like that. When I heard it for the first time, it was like, holy shit, how are they doing that? What is that sound? And then of course, and with any sound, there's good and there's bad. And I always say that if you find a style of music or a genre of music that absolutely disgusts you, listen to as much of it as you possibly can, because eventually you'll find something that doesn't disgust you, and then you have found your diamond in the rough. You found something in a new genre that you like. And I've done that with everything. I like drum and bass, dubstep, even trap and Moombahton. I famously went on Twitter and slated Moombahton, saying that it was ridiculous. But then immediately afterwards, I went out and decided to prove myself wrong, basically, make myself look like an ass. So I listened to it and I listened to it and I listened to it, and obviously I discovered people like Dylan Francis and whatever who were doing amazing stuff, amazing productions, and it was kind of like, wow, there's some real talent here. This is what's good. So yeah, but the diversity of it all is what has driven me, is what drives me at the moment. I want to try and do sets where I can seamlessly go from a progressive house record at 126 BPM to a dubstep record at 140 BPM, back to house, slow it down to Moombahton, take it up to drum and bass, and if I can make that sound fluid, then I've achieved what I was trying to do, and I believe that I can do it.
Do you think that's especially important in the US? It seems like there's less of a kind of I'm only into this in the US. It seems a bit more.
Yeah, I mean,
Open to variation.
there's definitely less genre Nazis,
Yeah.
but I feel like in the UK, I don't agree with genre Nazis, and I don't agree with pigeonholing things. But at the same time, I feel like we've earned the right to say, I like this and I don't like that, because in England, dance music has been such a massive, like, well, not just England, but like Britain, Europe as well, but primarily when you look at Britain and you look at how it was in the late 90s, when you've got like, you've got like world-class super clubs in cities like Stoke and like Loughborough, of all places. Like, we had amazing clubs all across the country playing dance music Friday night, Saturday night, like with thousands of people turning up. We've had that club scene for so long that like people have had plenty of time to decide, this is where I am now and I don't really want to move, so I kind of forgive people in England for that kind of vibe, but less so when I hear like young people saying, well, all dubstep shit. No, it's not. Like if you think it all sounds like robots fucking, then you've listened to like 5% of the dubstep that's out there. Go and listen to Breakage, or go and listen to DJ Thinking or DJ Mad or Failey or people like that, and you'll realise that it can be as beautiful and as soulful as any R&B record. And that like, so I feel like that when young people do it, it's a lot worse. But over here, the great thing about it is, a lot of the young crowd are so excited to hear all music that, like, when I get to play the raves and it's like 18 and up crowds and stuff, oh, they're like the best gigs, absolutely the best gigs. I love to see a sea full of neon shit and I love getting candy hurled at me and stuff like that. It's brilliant. It's the best thing, and yet they really let you do whatever you want.
So how is Funkagenda known in the US? I mean, because like
I'm known for being an arsehole, just like I am in England.
No, do you know what I mean? No, because before when we last saw you last in Ibiza and stuff, you were booked as sort of headline DJs or and playing a sort of sound, like you said, maybe a bit more genre specific.
Yeah.
Are you sort of known as a different type of DJ in the US?
Yeah, it's been hard work, but that's what I've gone for. I mean, that's what I've sort of said. Like, I want people to not know what they're gonna get. Like, I want people to come and I want them to be interested in what I'm gonna play them, rather than just wanting to hear a set thing, like, and it's cool. Like, I don't mind people saying, oh, I hope he plays this record, I hope he plays that record or whatever, but like, I don't want someone to turn around and go, oh, you're a cunt for not playing that record, and you're this for not playing this record, because the whole point of going to see a DJ, any DJ, not just me, the whole point of going to see a DJ is to hear their interpretation on music that is available right at that moment. And they should be free to tell whatever story they want, And the great thing about it here is, like, I've really stuck to my guns as far as that goes. And sometimes I'll play commercial records, and sometimes I'll play underground records, and sometimes I'll play dubstep, and sometimes I'll play drum and bass and whatever. And the reason that I do all of those things is very simple, because I like it and I want to play it.
So changing things up back to tech. We're going to NAMM in a few days. Maybe tell us about what you'd love to see new on the market or updated, or
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, like, things are moving so nicely at the moment. Like, there's so much cool stuff coming out, and things that I was told when I was growing up would be absolutely impossible are now possible. Stuff like what's the
Melodyne DNA?
Yeah, Melodyne DNA. It's like, Jesus, like, that is just not possible. Like, I don't understand it, but it's brilliant. Like, it's incredible. All that stuff was never available, and we thought it never would be available. How can you unmix a mixed signal? It just doesn't make any sense. But they found a way of doing it. What I would really, really like to see, first things first, I'd love Roland to re-release the 303. Pete's sake, like, just do it. Like, at the moment, like, you're not earning anything, Roland, and collectors are earning like 5-6 grand selling them on eBay. Just re-release it, then you'll make that money, not the collectors. That would be amazing. So, and I wouldn't have to worry about having to buy a special American adapter to run mine, because it would just run, because you'd have an American version of it. So that would be great. Like, jump on the bandwagon. No one wants to buy those new fangled, you know, virtual analog synths. They want one of those. So just bring one of those back out, please. And also, do you know, I mean, whatever happened to the groove boxes? Because I thought they were amazing. Like, they were a really, really good thing. You know, that self-contained, because like it swings and roundabouts, isn't it? Like, analog equipment was the big thing, and then the computer workstation came out, with it, like you know, the O1s and the what was the Yamaha one, the SY, was it
S1X or something?
Yeah, and there was the SY85 and all those, like, that you could load samples in and stuff, and suddenly, like, that was the new thing. Then everyone went back to analog again, because like dance music started to emerge, and it was all we could afford, like, to buy like cheap drum machines and stuff. So, like, you know, the 909s rocketed in price, the 303s rocketed in price. Then the clones came out, like the Joe Mox and whatever, and so they were like, and the Freebase 383 and all this kind of stuff. And then it all went internal into the computer, and now everyone's got bored of the computer, and they're all coming back out again. So, like, I'd like to see some really cool hardware. I'd like to see some really cool hardware come out. I'd like to see someone recreate something like this, you know, maybe even if they had to use virtual analog or whatever. But, you know, you've got like Massive has got these like other oscillators. I'd like to see a hardware synth, something like this, that encompassed all the analog processing, but then had all these interesting oscillators like Massive, and something that like you could actually sync up properly as well, you know, because like the big problem with the Voyager is like it's amazing, but unless you've got the attachments for it and stuff, it doesn't actually MIDI sync. You know, you need like a Kenton or something to actually MIDI sync it. So, you know, I feel like that would be an amazing thing. And also, you know, obviously I want to see, you know, the updates to all the software that I use and stuff. I mean, like, over the years, my go-to plugins have changed, you know, dramatically. And you know, before I used to be very, very based inside Logic and use their internal synths and stuff, and now I tend to use a lot more, you know, like I've really, really gotten into the Fab Filter plugins. Like, their processing is so clean, and like, you know, like, I mean, they're particularly things like their limiters and their filters are just incredible, you know. So you know, anything like that. But I mean, to be honest, like, I'll never know what I want to see until it's already out, and I think, wow, that's a good idea, you know. Like, obviously, like, you know, 2 years ago it was like Stutter Edit.
Have you seen Ableton Push, the controller for Ableton?
Yes, I have. Yeah,
interested
I have.
in that? With the live side as well, you know.
Yeah, the problem with hardware, and the reason that I moved to an iPad, because I was one of the first people in England to have the APC 40.
Well, we remember we did the video.
Yeah, exactly. Magnificent, like, absolutely magnificent. You know, it was great, but you forget how often you switch screens and switch, you know, like, I had to come up with the macro thing that I use on here for my live performance was actually designed so that I could just use 8 knobs on the APC 40. Like, that was why I had to build it. And even then it was kind of like, well, I can't control the bass and treble from here. Like, I have to, you know, I need something else to do that. So that's why when I play live, I run through the 2 channels on the mixer, and I actually use the mixer's bass and treble and stuff on top of the effects that I already use here. So the big problem with using a hardware controller like Push is it's not modular. Like, what I'd like to see is perhaps like, do you remember when the Fader Fox things came out? So I'd like to see something like that, but that you can clip together as a modular unit. So you can sort of say, well, I want like a set of knobs, of 8 knobs on this side, and I want a set of 8 knobs on that side, and I want a bunch of launchers here and a bunch of faders here. And then you can clip it all together and carry it around as one piece. You know, like it's a simple idea, but it just saves all this like setting up, you know.
There's a few companies that have tried it over the years. It's just so expensive for companies to make it. And nobody wants to pay like 500 quid a module.
Exactly. Well, no, exactly. So this is what I think. I mean, like, you know, I feel like it can be done, but it has to be done. It has to be done so that people can afford it.
Yeah,
you know? I mean,
market.
when you look at if you look at like say the tractor controllers, you know, like the S, is it the S? I don't know, the
F1 and then the
yeah,
X1.
you've got the little ones like that. So like if you just had like things on the side so that they could clip together, and then, you know, you've got another one like, say, I mean, like Novation are in a perfect position to do this because like they've got their launch pad. Now if they bought out fader things as well that clipped onto the launch pad, game over.
So
no, I would buy that. Like I would definitely buy that straight away.
They've got an announcement at NAMM, so let's fingers crossed.
Yeah, like a big. I mean, because literally, like, this is incredible. You know, this as a piece of software is incredible. You know, it gives me all the control that I want. You know, I've got my clip launches, I've got my mixer, I've got my device controls. And, you know, it can all be done on a full-size screen, but there's no feedback. How do I know that I've pressed the button? Like, you know, if when I had the APC-40, I could go bang and I could hit a thing and I knew that I'd hit it. There's no feedback on an iPad. Like, you know, when you press the button, you don't know that you've pressed that button. Like, so sometimes you can misfire. It doesn't happen very often, but it means that like sometimes, you know, when you're really, really in the moment, you have to come out of the moment in order to focus on pressing a button or whatever, and whereas like, you know, when you watch someone like Skrillex when he used to use the controller with all the knobs and stuff, like that hardware was really intuitive for him, and he'd like turn the knobs and it was like it was just great, like a guy having that power, and a virtual slider just doesn't do that. But still, by far, I think that this is the best control option available for Ableton. Like hands down, this is the best, you know, because of what it enables you to do, and the fact that you can link up 8, 9, 10 iPads across, and you can position them virtually in a grid or whatever, like to have it, you know, you could have an entire mixing desk based entirely on iPads. It's incredible, but there's no feedback. So like, yeah, if Novation want to bring out something that does that, I'd be first in queue to buy it. Actually, I wouldn't. I'd be on the phone and I'd ask them for a free one. And then when they said no, then I'd be first in queue to buy it.
Okay, and then I guess finally, producers, because you know, just like us lot, you're well into the sort of geeky production side. What producers are? You know, like when you said I put up listen to dubstep, you're like, how do they do that? When have you had that moment recently? Who's been making you think that?
Well, like right at this very moment, I'm still hooked on Nero as far as dubstep goes. They're incredible, but also Xylent are really good at that. When I did my little demo of the DJing thing, the dubstep track that I mixed in there was a Xylent track. They're really good. Gemini is really good. I mean, there's a lot like on that side of things. Like there's quite a few guys. Anyone that doesn't go for the bargain basement, like, you know, constant thing that people seem to do. Like, I don't want to hear that. Like, I want to hear melody and stuff. So anyone that's really good with melody and stuff, I'm really into. Producer wise, Gus Affelstein doing on the house scene at the moment. It's just like incredible. Like, I love the way that he crosses. He's managed to take techno and turn it into something that kids that like raging dubstep will listen to. And I don't know how the two, because like I've heard everyone from like Sasha to Skrillex play his records. That's an incredible crossover, you know. That's like a really amazing achievement. I think Prids has really come into his own recently. Like, I mean, like recent. I mean, I've always thought he's a great producer, but like some of his stuff is a little bit too progressive for me to fit into my sets. But I mean, the last few things that he's done, like I played all of them, like he's like just amazing, so good. Who else has been really amazing?
What about pop stuff? Is there ever any pop stuff where you think, wow, this is?
Yeah, I mean, like I think pop production at the moment is once you look beyond, you know, like say the American top 40, like all the R&B producers and stuff, and you start to go a little bit. I mean, like anyone that follows me on Twitter is going to laugh at me for saying this, by the way, but it was brought to my attention by Sander Kleinenberg the other day that the new Bruno Mars album is actually really, really amazingly produced, and I've slated Bruno Mars like for, you know, like with his Catch a Grenade bullshit like for ages. Genuinely, like that single he's done, that Locked Out of Heaven single, the production on that is immense. I mean, it really, really is. There's a lot. I mean, you know, I tend to favour, when I go for music that's not dance music, I tend to favour stuff that's far more chilled. You know, people like who have I listened to recently? I got the new Bjork album recently. That's incredible. Imogen Heap, people like that, like just they blow me away. Feist, you know, anyone that I love hearing great production but brilliant songwriting. So anyone.
Would you ever like to do projects like that? Like get more involved in Mike and
absolutely, yeah. Like I mean, it's a dream of mine to do something like that. So and at some point I will. It's just finding the right collaborators. Like, you know, the thing is, if I go onto my Twitter page now and I type in, who would you like to see me work with? I get 100 responses, and maybe one of them will be someone that I want to work with, and then the rest of the responses that come back will just be really obvious, like dance producers and stuff, because that's where people's heads are at right now. So, you know, like at some point maybe there'll be a time that comes when people could go, you know, I'd really like to hear Funkagenda collaborate with Feist. Like, it'd never happen because she's far too cool to work with me, but it's something to aim at, you know.
So, this year, will we see an album this year, do you think?
You'll see it. I don't know whether it'll be mine. No, I mean, look, like what I'm going to try and do this year is I'm going to try and release some singles that are not what you expect, you know, and the great thing about the people who are loyal fans of mine is that they've come to expect not to expect anything. So, like, you know, I can put out something and they'll be, you know, I did my dubstep remix on Tool Room, and the other one that I did on Funk Farm, and they really went with it. The one that I put out on Funk Farm actually like, it got something ridiculous, like, you know, X million views on YouTube and something like that. So I was like, wow, you know, that's like kind of amazing. I've got some really good stuff in the pipeline. I'm doing a track with Sneaky Sound System, a track with Friction, a track with Gemini, a track with Star Sailor. There's a whole bunch of exciting things that are
varied as well.
Yeah, very varied. But you know, like as and when they come out, like I don't know how they're going to come out. They just will. So, you know, and like I say, I'm not going to promise anything because I don't like letting people down. So I'm just going to beaver away here and do what I do, and then hopefully, you know, when they come out, people will be just like, oh wow.
Awesome. Well, thanks very much for having us.
No worries. Thank you for coming around.